Downtown Vancouver, Rogers Arena, where the Canucks open a 4-game homestand with their second meeting of the season against the Nashville Predators. Starting goalies brought to you by Tim Hortons, the official coffee of the NHL. Pekka Rinne's making progress, but he's still out with a serious hip infection. Carter Hutton in goal, and it's Roberto Luongo for the Canucks, who's been excellent in 2 games back. Hutton's on a roll. He's won 3 in a row, and Luongo ranks top 10 in the NHL in both save percentage and goals against average.
Well, Hutton's the Nashville Predators play in Calgary tomorrow, so you wonder what they're going to do. You wonder if Hutton's going to play every game. Devin Dubnyk's the backup, and Barry Trotz was not really pleased with his Nashville debut.
Jason Garrison after a puck at center. Deflects off a Nashville stick into the Vancouver zone, but now it's out to center. Daniel Sedin trying to advance the puck. Checked by Craig Smith. Gets it through to Kessler on the second attempt. And Ryan Kessler wheels and dumps the puck to the far corner. Back is Roman Josi with a pass to Shea Weber. Tipping the puck forward. Edler tried to hold it in, but here comes Legwand. Covering for Edler is Daniel Sedin as Legwand moves down the right wing with a backhander. Luongo a stick save, and he'll gather the puck for a whistle 41 seconds into the opening period.
It's hard as a goaltender to get traded mid-season because you're so used to your defense, and the Predators were on the road and Devin Dubnyk joined the team, and you get used to playing with an Edmonton team that is really loose defensively, and then you go to a Barry Trotz coach team that is so tight defensively, and you're still chasing the puck, and Dubnyk's got some work to do to readjust his game to suit the Predators game.
Here's Mike Fisher after the puck in the Vancouver zone. Squirts free to Chris Tanev, who passes to the far side for Jannik Hansen. Hansen ahead for Chris Higgins. Icing waved off as he moves in on young Seth Jones, and the puck is tipped free for the newest Predator, Michael Del Zotto, in his first shift as a member of the Nashville team after being traded from the Rangers for Kevin Klein. Hutton out of his net, slides the puck to the corner. Jones up the middle to Fisher. Tried to feed on to the left wing for Del Zotto, who was joining the rush. That was knocked away neatly by Brad Richardson. And now the puck played forward, brought in by Higgins on the left wing with a wrist shot. Kicked out, rebound. Richardson had his stick tied up by Del Zotto and couldn't get a shot away. So a good defensive play there from the newest Predator as Higgins moves in with a drop pass for Richardson. He gets to the corner, centers, that hit the side of the net as Richardson was trying to find Zach Kassian on the other side, and now Hutton grabs the puck for a stoppage.
Well, that wasn't a great rebound. Hutton leaves this one, the shot by Chris Higgins. That should be an easy save. The rebound's right there, and Del Zotto does a nice job tying up Brad Richardson's stick.
Zach Dalpe out for this face-off, flanked by Kassian and Booth. Ryan Ellis, who spoke with Murph prior to the game, comes up with the puck, sends it ahead. It's off Bieksa's stick and into the Vancouver zone. And here's Ryan Stanton in his first shift back after missing 15 games with an ankle injury. Stanton going back for a loose puck. Luongo out to settle it for him. Nystrom shadowing Stanton as he sends around for Kassian. Pass to Dalpe, and now Kassian to Bieksa, who's got room on the left wing. Bieksa wide on the backhand. One hands the puck in front. It's loose, and now chipped wide as Bieksa from a sharp angle couldn't put it on goal. Kassian knocked down in a battle with Victor Bartley. But the puck stays in the Nashville zone. Bartley sends it around for Ellis. It's out of his reach and through to Matt Cullen. Cullen just dumps the puck to an open wing. Edler takes possession. Lane's open for the pass. Kellen Lane trying to take it off his skate now from the left wing. He tries a shot and a stick saved by Hutton. Had the pass come a bit earlier and been on the mark, Lane could have had a breakaway. Rich Clune the other way tips the puck into Vancouver territory. Edler goes back and hands it around for Jason Garrison. Garrison switching over to play the right side as he's done quite a bit this year with Edler. With Weber coming out of the lineup for Vancouver, replaced by Ryan Stanton. Chris Tanev, a mainstay on the Vancouver defense, passes to Dan Hanhus, who sends the puck forward. Weiss is in, but puck got caught up in the skates of Lane, and it's taken away by Victor Stahlberg. No score, 3 minutes in. Canucks with 3 early shots to just 1 for the Predators, and that was the easy save for Luongo on the Legwand backhand. The makeshift top line for the Canucks back out. Ryan Kessler between Daniel Sedin and Alex Burrows. The second straight night where we can refer to 22 as Sedin and nothing more if we choose, as Henrik misses his second straight game. Here's a centering pass. Smith checked by Sedin before he could get a shot away. And here come the Canucks over the Nashville line. Sedin cutting in front. Wrist shot, kicked out, rebound. Kessler couldn't get his stick on it as he was being checked by Nick Spallin. Weber the other way. Flips the puck into the Vancouver zone. Legwand moves in on Bieksa. Chops the puck to the near side. Weber was retreating, and that allows Alex Burrows to intercept and hoist the puck to center. Gloved down by Kessler, but right onto the stick of Craig Smith. Daniel Sedin makes a nice move to get in the right wing. Looking for help, tries a wrist shot. That missed the net. Puck ricochets to the left point and out as Hansen couldn't hold it on side. 4 minutes into the first, no score. A lot of continuous action as Ellis goes back for a loose puck. Ryan Ellis was the third defenseman in OHL history to get more than 300 points. The first two, Jenny Potvin and Rick Kolovich. Here's Mike Fisher with a quick shift and a centering pass. It's off the stick of Hansen. Ellis working to hold the puck into the right point. Poke passed in by Higgins. Ellis recovers to tie up Chris Higgins and now blocks the dump in by Hansen, who's able to send the puck behind the net on his second try. Hutton out of the net, in trouble. Hansen centers. Dolphy took a swing at the puck, but it was knocked away before it got to him. Now here's Edler at the left point with a long wrist shot that was blocked by Hornqvist. Ellis trying to get the puck ahead, does, and Hornqvist carries out to center. Patrick Hornqvist in on the right wing. Blocker save Luongo on that long wrist shot. Puck stays in the Vancouver zone, but now taken by Garrison, who slides it across to Alex Edler. 5 minutes into the first. The man I'm working with, who's not allowed to speak so far, is John Garrett.
That's right.
Jump in anytime.
You got your radio call going.
Dan Hamhuis with the puck. Tanev takes his pass and returns it to Hamhuis, who drives the puck into the Nashville zone. Canucks have won 16 of the last 23 against the Predators in the regular season. 20 of 29 if you count their playoff series, the 6-game win back in 2011. Meister flipped the puck in. Bork was offside, but he tags up. Gabriel Bork appeared to be shaken up in warm-up in a collision with a teammate, Hornqvist. Seems to be all right as this game is underway, and Booth tips the puck into the Nashville zone. Bork pressured by Richardson. Now Bieksa working to hold the puck in, and he does. Richardson in for Booth. Under pressure from Seth Jones. Booth shielding the puck, goes down, and David Booth slow to get up. Seems to be laboring a bit.
He's going right to the bench.
We'll monitor his situation as Bieksa passes up to Tom Sestito. Sestito tips the puck in deep. Weiss throws a hit on Jones. Lane working to hold the puck in, but Paul Gostad chips it down to the Vancouver blue line. Bieksa looks up ice with a pass to Tom Sestito. And Lane offside. Now we're going to have a fight. Weiss has dropped the gloves with Rich Clune right in front of the Nashville bench, and off comes the helmet of Dale Weiss.
Rich Clune is just throwing as many as he possibly can.
Got Weiss a little off balance, and down they go. Weiss wants more, it looks like. Gets back up, and inside left lands from Clune.
Now Dale Weiss has got the right hand free. Took the uppercut.
Spirited scrap, and that'll be it. A lot of continuous action and a little bit of feeling. The Canucks and the Predators scoreless live on Sportsnet.
Welcome back to Vancouver. Don't forget to play Safeway's $1 million score and win. If any Vancouver player scores 5 goals in tonight's game, Tony Pooley of Vancouver could win $1 million. Shop and swipe at Safeway. You could be our next lucky winner.
Seth Jones is 6'4", weighs 210 now as he's starting to fill out, and he takes down David Booth, who was very slow to get up. Now Rich Clune and Dale Weiss over on the side. They're just about to make a line change on the offside, and that was almost like a tied domi. Rich Clune is 5'10", but weighs 210. And Dale Weiss 6'2", and he weighs 210.
Here's Ryan Kessler with a shot through traffic. Hutton makes the save with Daniel Sedin right in front. And the whistle blows on a somewhat tough stop when you consider the traffic in front.
And there's Dale Weiss talking to Rich Clune now. And Clune was a healthy scratch 8 straight games and back in the lineup. Here's a shot by Kessler, and Hutton with the save and no rebound. He's had some juicy rebounds on the first 3 or 4 shots. Was able to control that one. And Clune has played 8 of the last 10, but before that, he sat out 8 straight.
Daniel Sedin with a shot right off the draw that missed the net. Weber advances the puck, bounces it through towards the Canuck goal. Luongo steers to the side. Garrison clears up the boards, held in by Shea Weber. Spalling from behind the net. Pass was blocked, but he gets the puck back and leaves in the corner for David Legwand. Blue line feed, Yossi, other side. Weber with a drive and Luongo with the right pad on it. Then he stops Smith and a sharp finger on the side of the net. Daniel Sedin tips the puck out. Weber controls it center. And he whistles it into the Vancouver zone. Hard around to the near side. Garrison quickly ahead to Daniel Sedin. At the end of his shift, he'll dump the puck into the Nashville zone. Kessler stays out for the moment. Here's Tanev holding the puck in. Kessler tries to get it behind the net for Hansen. Delzato had a chance to intercept. Now he's got a hold of Hansen's hockey stick. Daniel Sedin working to keep the puck alive for Vancouver, but Delzato comes up with it for Nashville. Pass blocked by Hansen, and Daniel Sedin gets the puck in the corner. Sedin behind for Hansen. Kessler goes to the front. Hansen skates to the corner. Feeds back to Hanhus. Tanev at the right point. Pressured by Hornqvist. Daniel Sedin heading to the bench as Hutton shoots the puck around and gets it out to center where Chris Higgins takes control. Now the Canucks complete their full change. Dalpe's on to replace Kessler. Just past the 8-minute mark, scoreless first period, and Hanhus has room to skate in against his old team with a wrist shot. Hutton the save, and he covers for the whistle. Murph.
Well, guys, now it's time to live the game with Windows. One of the newsmakers Sunday, of course, Richard Sherman, post-game rant after that win over the 49ers. Some people liked it. Some people called him a thug, and he said, "Thug, what about that hockey game recently that they didn't even play hockey in?" Of course, Sherman is a fan of the Vancouver Canucks. He's been up to a couple of games, and that game he was alluding to was Vancouver-Calgary. Yes. Live the game with Windows, John.
I know you had no problem with it, being the Seahawk fan that you are.
Yeah, kind of turn a blind eye to that. Richard Sherman can do no wrong in my eyes. Mike Sullivan can do no wrong as the head coach of the Canucks. He's 1-0 as he brings his team into this one. And there's Darryl Williams behind the bench again.
Very studious looking. Darryl Williams talking to Jamie Hendricks.
Darryl normally the eye in the sky for the Canucks, but he'll be on the bench for the half-dozen games that John Tortorella is being mandated to miss. Here's Ryan Stanton. David Booth trying to pick up that puck. Back out there after being shaken up his last turn on the ice. Matt Cullen controls, flips the puck past Booth, and here's Borkin on the left wing. Behind the net for Nystrom. Nystrom tried to cycle the puck, but Bieksa was right there for Vancouver. Tried to get it ahead for Booth. That was blocked by Bork, so Bieksa opts to reverse to Stanton, but he can't get the puck out. Cullen swings it in front, and that deflects to the corner. 9 minutes into the first, no score, and Booth picks up the puck and gets it out. Driven back in by Victor Bartlett. Both teams changing as Bieksa goes back to collect the puck. Double shift here for Chris Higgins in the absence of Dale Weeks as he skates on the line with Lane and Sestito for Vancouver. Alex Edler has the puck ahead to Kellen Lane. Tried twice to knock the bouncing puck into the zone, failed to do so, and here comes Gostad the other way with a wrist shot. Stick save Luongo. Stallberg after the puck. Hornqvist getting the double shift for Nashville with Clune in the penalty box. And the Canucks take possession of the puck in their zone, with Edler throwing it forward, deflected through by Chris Higgins, and both teams will start to change. Here's Daniel Sedin off the bench and onto the puck. Makes a move to the right side, cutting it on goal. Daniel to the crease, rebound! Kessler couldn't jam it home. And Craig Smith winds up with the puck in the corner. Smith taken down by Kessler. Play goes on. Burrows steals the puck. Back to Hanhus. Slap shot blocked by Spalling. And the puck deflects free to Michael Delzato. He gets it ahead to center. Tipped on by Spalling. Legwand drops for Spalling. He's got Smith in front. There's the pass. And a backhander well off the target. Legwand from the corner. Centering feed. Knocked away by Tanev. And Smith took a swing at the puck but missed. Tips the puck to the end boards. Burrows moves in on Weber and gives him a bump. Legwand winds up the puck, flips it to Spalling, and he relays to Yossi. Roman Yossi over the Vancouver line. Down the left side, still with the puck. Into the corner. Centering pass goes off Legwand and somehow stayed out of the net. Might have gone off his skate. Now Weber at the blue line. Long slap shot, a hard one. Luongo knocked it down with the glove, and then he covered the puck for the whistle. Weber's had a couple of looks in this game, and the Canucks will probably want to play him a little tighter and not let him get that shot off.
Well, there is Kellen Lane, who got to play a little bit on Tuesday night. Third career shift, scores on his first career shot. Who was the last Canuck to do it? Well, it happened right in this building against these Predators, January 6th, 2011. Lee Sweat, the overtime winner. Rudy.
Yes, I remember that. We called that game, John.
That was an exciting moment for the other Sweat. There's Kellen Lane. Saw the puck in his stall this morning. Icing call upcoming as Higgins played that one in from his own side of center. So now what's up next for Kellen Lane? When you think about the fight and the goal, I mean, he's got a laundry list of things to check off.
Yes, that's true. Doesn't that surprise you, the 2 seconds? Somewhere in the NHL, as soon as the puck dropped, somebody never dropped them, and the timekeeper stopped it at 1 second.
Guess not.
Guess not.
I mean, first, I'm sure it's
First,
happened, but not
yeah.
in your first game.
Your first
You know what
game. I mean, tough guy come in, and your first game, you want to make an impression. Of course, you were
Usually those guys
probably
don't
not
start,
starting
yeah.
the game.
Face-off win for Mike Fisher. Ellis puts it onto the side for Colin Wilson, who spins to get away from Zach Dalpe. Now tries to center. Hanhughes got in front of that. And he makes a good crisp pass ahead to Chris Higgins. Higgins banks the puck into Nashville territory. Bartley goes back and delays before passing up the middle, and the puck is relayed by Fisher to Ellis. Ryan Ellis down the right wing. Still with the puck. Puts it in front, and Wilson just missed. Predators have had some chances right in front of the goal. Canucks with the earlier chances. And Nashville's had a few in the last couple of shifts. Here's Bartley. Now the puck thrown ahead. Cullen deflects it into the Vancouver zone. Luongo sends it the other way for David Booth, who's pressured by Matt Cullen. 8 minutes remaining in the first, no score. The X in a battle for the puck with Nystrom. Trying to make his bid for the Ballon d'Or as the X tried to kick the puck around the end boards. That was blocked. Now Booth controls. Can't decide which way to go with the puck, and it stays in the Vancouver zone. Bork in the slot. Wrist shot blocked by Stanton, who then had his stick lifted by Nystrom, and the Predators steal the puck back, put it in front, and just tipped wide by Bork. Now another chance. Nystrom is stopped by Luongo on the doorstep. Canucks running around a bit in their own zone. Now Booth, who had the earlier chance to clear, gets the puck out. Richardson is hurt. Brad Richardson heading to the Vancouver bench. As Cassin works off ice, there's a penalty coming up to Nashville, probably for the play on Richardson. As the Canucks control with the extra skater on the ice, here's Edler fighting the puck a bit. Deflects back to Kassian, and Kassian checks. That'll draw the whistle. And as Richardson checks for damage at the bench, the Predators will take the first penalty that results in a power play in the hockey game.
Well, the referee's coming over to check for damage, too. Referee Chris Rooney is looking at Brad Richardson. And there's the high stick. And it's not a follow-through. I think that's what Nashville is trying to say was a follow-through. Well, it was well after the shot.
And it's a double minor to Matt Cullen. You could see the follow-through had already happened, and then he came up with the gloves and the stick. So an opportunity here for the Canucks, who were 2 for their last 26 and went 0 for 4 in their last game in Edmonton. Burrows, double team, but works the puck to Kessler. Hanhughes going to the net. Kessler passes in for Sedin, who sends the puck back to Garrison. Left point, Hanhughes. Burrows is in front. Puck put in front. Tipped wide by Daniel Sedin. Kessler has it on the right wing. Into the corner for Burrows. Down low. Burrows looking in front. And the pass was out of the reach of Hanhughes, who looked like he recoiled with the stick a little bit. Now Daniel Sedin to Burrows. Kessler one time and a blocker saved by Hutton. Canucks throwing the puck around nicely. Sedin on the right wing. Takes a return pass from Burrows. Here's Garrison at the blue line to Daniel Sedin. Side of the net, Burrows attacking, centers, and again, Hamhuis couldn't pull the trigger. Canucks setting up decent looks. Minute gone in the double minor. Hamhuis a third attempt, and again he fluttered one wide. Fans buzzing a bit. Here's Daniel Sedin. Garrison, slap shot, look out. That hit his stick and had everybody ducking for cover. Kessler gets it again. To Daniel Sedin. Garrison takes his pass. Daniel Sedin, top of the circle, to the goal line. Burrows with a centering pass. And that one was out of the reach of Hamhuis. He gets the puck to Garrison. Daniel Sedin, one-timer, and that was blocked. Great pressure. Just the finish that's lacking for the Vancouver power play. Here's Burrows. This unit's been out there for a minute and 40 seconds. Puck hasn't left the zone. Daniel Sedin and Hamhuis again on a bouncing puck. Couldn't find the net. That one was a tough shot. Garrison over to hold the puck into the right point. Here's Burrows. Daniel. Hamhuis. And again. What can you say? Just not making good contact. Daniel with a shot stopped by Hutton. And the whistle blows with the double minor more than half over.
And Dan Hamhuis is going to the bench feeling the frustration of having so many chances. There's Ryan Kessler. That's a good save by Hutton. But Dan Hamhuis had to have 3 good chances. That misses the net. Off the, you can see he doesn't get his feet turned, and it's off the end of his stick. Dan must have had 3 good scoring chances on that first part of this power play.
Power play continues. Kassian with a shot attempt. Puck comes right back to him. Bieksa behind the net for Higgins. Kassian from the corner. In for Higgins again and back for Zach Kassian to the blue line. Here's Alex Edler. Bieksa the other point man. Pass comes to Kassian. Weak pass, but he got it through to Edler. Wrist shot, hoping for a deflection, and Bieksa couldn't make contact. Now the puck shoveled in front, taken out by Delphi. Back to Edler. He shoots. Blocked by Bartley. And he felt that. Victor Bartley's going to stay out, but he's checking his left knee a little bit as Edler's being pressured by Mike Fisher. Zach Delphi ahead to Chris Higgins. Minute 10 to go in the 4-minute power play. Bieksa pokes the puck in front, clear to the corner by Jones. Delphi up the boards for Higgins. Pass deflects to Kassian. Kassian back to Edler. Near side, Bieksa. One-timer stopped by Hutton. Can't cover. Puck still loose. Dug free by Fisher and sent down the ice. 40 seconds to go in the 4-minute power play for Vancouver. And here comes Hamhuis out with the puck. Drops for Daniel Sedin. Goes wide on Bourque and carries over the Nashville line. Cuts the middle. Puck knocked away. Kessler gets it to Garrison. And down for Kessler again, behind the net for Sedin, cut off by Josi. But he's pressured by Burrows. Josi keeps after the puck. Burrows battling while down on the ice. Comes to Kessler in the corner, now to Burrows. Tried to leave for Kessler. Bartley played it back in. Garrison moves down for the line. Burrows controls back to Hamhuis. Dan Hamhuis to Jason Garrison. Moves to the middle. Passes down to Hamhuis. Bobbled the puck. Now gets it back and works to Daniel Sedin. Power play's over, but the Canucks still control. Here's a chance for Kessler. Back to Garrison. Slap shot. Off a skate into the corner. Hamhuis puts one through the crease. Burrows couldn't knock it down. Kessler feeds behind the goal for Daniel Sedin. Burrows is in front. Pass to Kessler. Couldn't knock it out of the air as he was driven to the ice. And there'll be another penalty for cross-check as Paul Gaustad sent Kessler flying. And the Canucks 0 for 2 on the power play. Get another opportunity when we come back in this scoreless game.
Pizza Hut wants to send you and a friend to a Canucks game with their Eat Pizza Win Tickets contest. Every week from now to March, one lucky fan will win a pair of Canucks tickets. Go to pizzahut.ca or call 310-1010 to order and you're automatically entered to win. Pizza Hut, the official pizza of the Vancouver Canucks.
Power play looks good, had some chances. Ryan Kessler fans. Paul Gaustad with the cross check knocks Kessler down. And right away the Canucks back on the power play.
This time they go Hamhuis Bieksa as the point pairing with the man advantage, playing the offside. And Hamhuis at the right point. Tough pass for Kessler to handle. The puck is cleared down the ice by Predators.
Top of the penalty, 17:04.
Third power play for the Canucks with the failure on the 4-minute one. They're now 2 for their last 28. As Daniel Sedin moves it. Puck comes back to him. A little fortunate for Daniel. As he overhandled it moving into the zone. Now the Predators tee it up for Fisher in the corner. He bobbled the puck and can't clear it past Ryan Kessler. Burrows back to Bieksa. Other side, Daniel Sedin. Burrows going towards net as Daniel controls on the right wing. Passes to Burrows across for Bieksa. Stopped by Hutton. As Bieksa had to settle the puck before getting a good shot away, and that gave Hutton the time to come across. Daniel trying to feed the high slot for Kessler. That's off a Predator stick and out to center. Power play half done. Under 2 minutes to go in the first, no score. Canucks with 4 shots in their power play time so far. 13 in the period for 7 for Nashville. And the Predators clear the puck right down on Luongo.
Well, and how many have they missed on these power plays?
I could try to tally, but I'll say it was a rhetorical question.
Yes, it was a rhetorical.
Numerous. The X's pass hit Cassian in the skate. Puck comes through to Higgins eventually. And now Cassian trying to force it in deep, but Jones passes over to Bartley, and he risks the puck down into the Vancouver zone. 20 seconds to go in the power play. A little over a minute remaining in the first period. And here's Higgins in. Puck knocked away from him, right to Cassian, who makes a nice move, sends it across. Garrison with a blast that hit a leg, then deflected in front. But onto the puck is Clune, and he's able to dump it down into the Vancouver zone.
Last minute of play in the first period.
Here's Cassian. Pass picked off by Legwand, but he gives the puck away to Edler. Penalty's over. Canucks now 0 for 3 on the power play. And just the one Bieksa shot on the last one. Here's Legwand in. Late chance for the Predators. Spalling bobbled the puck on the left wing. But he gets it again. Sends it right point. Here's Weber out to greet him as Booth. Puck sent in front. Spalling couldn't tip it on goal. Garrison clears past Legwand. And David Booth brings the puck forward, tipping into the corner. 20 seconds to go in the first period. Puck held into the blue line. So now rolled out by Nashville. Here's Richardson at center. Passing back to Ryan Stanton. Despite the 3 power plays and the edge in shots, looks like the Canucks aren't going to garner anything out of this opening frame as the Predators in Vancouver scoreless through 20 minutes at Rogers Arena in the first of a 4-game homestand.
This period brought to you by the redesigned 2014 Toyota Tundra. Tough enough for any project.
Pretty good energy, pretty good pace to the first period of play, but no offense to speak of from either side. We're going to hear from Alex Burrows in our first intermission. He'll be chatting with Joey Kenward, and the panel is back. Dan Murphy joined by Alex Auld and Ian McIntyre. Canucks nothing, the Predators nothing. We're back with more after this.
Welcome back to Vancouver. Second period about to be getting underway at Rogers Arena. No score in the first. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. Canucks led in shots, tied in hits. Look at the power play, 0 for 3, and they were better in the face-off dot as well. Guys?
Predators control this face-off as we get underway in period number 2, and the puck quickly out of play for a whistle 9 seconds in.
Ryan Kessler, a big part of that face-offs in the first period. He was 6 for 6. And Shea Weber played 10 shifts. 6 of them head-to-head with Ryan Kessler. Barry Trotz is trying to match up Weber against Kessler in this one with no Henrik Sedin.
Although Weber out there now with the Canucks starting the period with the line of Dalby between Higgins and Hansen. Edler advances the puck towards Chris Higgins, and Weber out of midair puts it into the Vancouver bench. Kevin Lane grabs that puck.
Nashville's a very good face-off team, and you look at their centers, Legwand and Fisher and Gostad. So the Canucks are doing a real good job in that first period.
Here's Roman Josi for Nashville, and that'll be an icing call as he missed everybody with that lead pass. And after all that continuous action in the first period, we have 3 whistles in the first 28 seconds of the second.
Don't you think it was interesting, Barry Trotz talking about Shea Weber and how this year has been his best season ever? And he's taken more responsibility. The Olympics coming up, and he wanted to show everybody that he could be one of the leaders on the Canadian Olympic team.
Colin Wilson jumps onto that loose puck. Moves in on the left wing. Now tries to center for Weber. It deflects to Alex Burrows, who delays before sending the puck forward, but it bounces past Daniel Sedin. Hornquist towards Luongo, who steers the puck to the corner. Burrows intercepts. Ahead for Daniel Sedin, who throws one hard to the other side. Onto the puck is Dan Hamhuis. He flips one the other way. It's off Daniel's skate right to Ryan Kesler, trying to settle the puck. Now gets it towards the left point. Here's Ryan Stanton. In for Daniel Sedin. Bieksa. Quick shot attempt. Now it's centered for Kesler. He couldn't jam it home off the setup from Burrows. Puck dug out and cleared by Hornquist. That had opportunity written all over it as Burrows found Kesler in front. Stays scoreless as Stanton sends one ahead, blocked by Jones right in front of the Vancouver bench. Legwand brings the puck back towards the Vancouver zone. Onto the left wing, Delzato. Puck squirts in front, taken by the other number 18, Ryan Stanton, who headmans to Brad Richardson. Lead pass to Zach Cassidy. And he reverses to the near side, but offside was David Booth on his left, and the whistle blows.
Kevin Bieksa jumps up into this play, too, as he and Kesler and Burrows are there trying to dig that one out from Carter Hutton, who made a good save in tight.
Fourth line shift for the Canucks out against Cullen, Bourque, and Nystrom. Shooting attempt deflects right to Eric Nystrom. Onto the far side, Cullen on the backhand. Dumps one wide of the goal. Puck comes to the left point to Delzato. He puts one in front, cleared away by Edlund. And right back out to center ice. Gabriel Bourque falls down on pivoting, and here comes Tom Sestito, leaving for Weiss. Sestito chases in after that puck. Delzato took a healthy run towards him. Garrison holds the puck in. Now Cullen hit hard by Sestito, but able to clear the puck to center where Nystrom picks it up. Nystrom turns and delivers the puck in behind the Canuck goal. Luongo gets it to Alexander and ahead to Dale Weiss. Weiss plays chip and charge, moving in on Ryan Ellis, who clears to the line, held in by Dalton, who dumps the puck in behind the Nashville goal. 2.5 minutes into the second, no score. Bartley sends one down into the Vancouver zone. Luongo tips that free to Hamhuis. Hooks it ahead. Bartley waiting for the puck. Long shot is off a stick and off the end glass. Paul Gostek for Rich Clune. Clune being pressured by Chris Tannen. Now the puck sent to the blue line by Nystrom, but it goes right, by Stahlberg, and it goes between the point men and down the ice. 3 minutes into the second, and a steal by Jannik Hansen. Centering pass, Dalpe, check. Here's Hansen, shoots, blocked. Dalpe couldn't get the shot off. Hansen did, but it hit Ryan Ellis on the way through. Now Hamhuis is going to get an interference penalty as he stepped in front of Stahlberg. And Dan Hamhuis will head to the penalty box, the first power play of the game for Nashville.
Well, Dan Hamhuis doesn't go back in a straight line. He goes to his right, and he interferes with Stahlberg.
So the Canucks, the first 3 power plays of the game, all in the opening period, couldn't score. That began with a 4-minute high sticking penalty to Matt Cullen. And now it's Nashville's turn as the ex-Predator sits in the box. Richardson to take the face-off against Fisher. Predators win control. Here's Weber. Legwand from the right side. Side of the goal for Hornquist. Puck comes around to Josi. Pass blocked by Burrows. Now Burrows, chance to steal the puck, couldn't do it. Weber has it at the right point. Legwand takes his pass. Fisher tips it back to Josi. Slap shot. Luongo stopped it, couldn't cover it, but BX is able to send the puck off the side glass and down the ice. Legwand at center, drops for Roman Josi. Predators, the only team in the NHL that has not surrendered a shorthanded goal. BX goes back for that shooter, gets the puck to Tammy. Remain an extra move and was checked by numerous Predators. Bieksa a chance to move the puck, but closing the gap quickly was Hornqvist. He gets it back to Josi. Here's Weber, wristing one on goal, tipped wide by Hornqvist. Bieksa after the loose puck couldn't make contact. But now it gets by Hornqvist. Tanev tips it forward to Higgins, who can't chop it out past Weber. Higgins intercepts, another chance to clear, and this time he makes no mistake. Bieksa hustles to the bench along with Higgins. Tanev forced to stay out, but now he'll hand off as the Predators take the puck deep into their own zone. 40 seconds to go in the penalty to Dan Hanhus. No score, nearing the 5-minute mark of the second. Seth Jones dumps the puck in behind. Garrison intercepts, fans on his clearing attempt. Spalling check. Hansen's after the puck, gets it ahead, and here's Richardson. In on the right wing. Cuts to the middle. Richardson still with the puck, and he sweeps it wide of the goal. 20 seconds to go in the Nashville power play, and the puck is still deep in the Predators' end. Jones sends one ahead to Ellis, and he drives the puck into the Vancouver territory. Handler trying to get the puck around. That was blocked by Craig Smith. Here's Matt Cullen as Hanhus steps back on. Predators 0 for 1 on the power play. Hanhus pressuring the point. Daniel Sedin trying to move out. Couldn't get the puck outside the line. And here's Nick Spalling putting one in front. Smith turns and fires wide of the goal. Jones. That one was blocked by Daniel Sedin. Tried to get one ahead for Kessler. That hit linesman Brad Lazarowicz, and that forced the play offside. Kessler arguing with the linesman, but he's not going to win that one. Well, CHL Friday Night Hockey is coming up tomorrow at 4 on Sportsnet. Peterborough, Oshawa. RJ and Sam and all the action.
Yes. Guess who is an old Peterborough, Pete? The old alma mater.
Am I sitting
Going
next to
into,
him?
yes, going into Oshawa. We used to have the great games against Oshawa. Bob Kelly and Rick McLeish always fight.
Big ear-to-ear grin on your face.
Yes.
You know what? Is that the Roger Nielsen days?
That's the Roger Nielsen days. A great rivalry. Just down the road, closest city to Peterborough.
Bieksa holds the puck in the Nashville zone. Now it's cleared out. Hit Zach Dalpe. Came right to Rich Clune, who slides the puck in behind the Canuck net. We're 6 minutes into the second. No score. Dalpe checked at center by Stahlberg. Now passes across. Stanton tips the puck forward and skates onto it. Throws one to the other side. Booth couldn't reach that puck. Now he works to hold it in the zone, but it's cleared out by Paul Gostad and shot in by Clune. Luongo slows the puck. Stanton goes back. Around for Bieksa and ahead to Zach Kassian. Kassian, 5 points in his last 7 games. Nice pass ahead. Dalpe with a shot. Blocker save. Rebound on the backhand. He put it over top of the net. Kassian almost had another point there on the setup to Dalpe, but now the puck's back out to center and Smith flips it into the Vancouver zone. Luongo clears that one to the corner. Smith able to force the puck to the other side. Burrows is back. Tanev takes the puck and just unloads it to center. Deflects to Daniel Sedin, who carries it on the right wing. Daniel trying to lead for Kessler. He now gets the puck, slides it across, and deflected outside the line and back into the Vancouver end. Game needs goal, John.
Yes, it does.
Burrows trying to move it. That didn't work. Puck's back out to center on the stick of Dan Hanhus. Here's Garrison. Room to move through neutral ice. Up to Daniel Sedin, back to Garrison. Backhander, deflected wide of the goal. Kessler gets the puck, sends it towards the net. That hit the side of the goal. Burrows tied up and knocked down by Fisher, but Daniel Sedin pokes the puck free. Hornqvist gets it. He clears it out, and Garrison's being pursued here by Colin Wilson. Garrison, high percentage play to get the puck to the corner. Predators get it there, throw it in front. But now it's out to center. Hansen battling Delzato. And able to advance the puck over the Predators line and now force it further in. Kessler from the corner had the puck bounce past him. Seth Jones takes control. Kessler with the beaver tail. Jones not biting. And here comes Wilson over the Vancouver line. He's checked. Bieksa trying to get the puck out. And it's brought out by the Canucks. Here comes Kevin Bieksa fighting off a check in on the right wing. Cutting towards the middle. And the loose puck taken away by Hornqvist. We're back to continuous action, but not a whole heck of a lot happening, I gotta say. Bit of a chess match here. Or one of those Scrabble games where nobody wants to give up the triple word score and it's all in the middle. Yannick Hansen. Down for Chris Higgins. You wonder if the kids even know what Scrabble is. Can you play it on the Xbox?
Sure you could.
Tanev ahead for Higgins. Up to Dale Weiss. And he moves in after his own tip in. Bartley hit him in the corner. Puck comes to Brad Richardson. Sends one on goal. That deflects to the other side. Here's Chris Tanev. Dropping. Weiss towards the net. Tipped in. Chris Higgins. A beautiful deflection up under the bar. And Higgins makes it 1-0.
We talked about the fourth line guys before the game. What a play that was by Dale Weiss. He spotted Chris Higgins. It wasn't a shot. It was just a good, hard pass. And there he's getting congratulated by Chris Higgins. Look at Dale Weiss takes a look, sees Chris Higgins. That wasn't a shot. That was a good pass by Dale Weiss. Stops it, shoots it, and Chris Higgins on the backhand tips it by Carter Hutton.
Higgins from Weiss and Tanev at 9:09, and his 13th makes it 1-0 Canucks. Canucks just got a triple word score. Clune in. Shot blocked. Battle for the puck in the corner. There's Rich Clune. Comes up with the puck and sends it to the other side. Jones down from the right point. Edler had him lined up. Puck winds up on the stick of Kellen Lane. And the Canucks get the puck out. Here comes Tom Sestito. Drops for Alex Edler. Wrist shot block. Puck goes high in the air. Falls at the feet of Dale Weiss, but knocked away by the Predators and brought out by Clune, who steps around Bieksa. Rich Clune in. Soft pass ahead, hoping Stallberg could get to it. Now Stallberg from the corner. Leaves the puck deep in the Vancouver zone. Bieksa's back to pick it up. There'll be a penalty here to Legwand as he took down Bieksa moving from behind the Vancouver net. So the Canucks have a goal, and now they get their fourth power play after Chris Higgins opened the scoring.
Get your tickets now to the Heritage Classic game to be held at BC Place March 2nd. Canucks taking on the Senators. You can be a part of Vancouver hockey history. Go to Ticketmaster.ca/NHL or call 1-855-985-5000.
David Legwand trailing, kept Bieksa the left hand on the one hip, stick around the other side. Created a scoring chance. Chris Rooney right there to make the call.
Fourth power play for the Canucks, and they control off the draw. Garrison to Daniel Sedin. Here's Burrows to Dan Hamhuis. Back to Garrison, but the pass was in too tight. Now Daniel with a one-timer rebound. Kessler jamming away. Hutton's got the puck. Hamhuis' pass to Garrison was just off the mark as the Canucks defenseman wanted to lean into a one-timer. Canucks on the power play, brought to you as always by Subway Restaurants. Enter for your chance to win the Subway Road Trip of a Lifetime at roadtripofalifetime.nucksnation.com.
Carter Hutton does a nice job getting into position on the shot by Daniel Sedin. There's the pass that Garrison didn't line up properly, but another rebound.
Whoa, short hop on Luongo. You always cringe.
Yes.
Kessler to Daniel Sedin, who's in on the right wing. Sedin, bank pass. Garrison with a blast, and Hutton saw it all the way. Came out to challenge, made the save, and the whistle blows with 1:28 to go on the Vancouver power play.
And no rebound, and I'm sure Jason Garrison would have liked a little more screen on that one. Nice play by Ryan Kessler to set up Garrison, but there's absolutely nobody. Kessler tried to tip it from the side, and Hutton able to make the save.
First unit stays out. Canucks up to 19 shots in the game. Nashville's had 10. Predators control, and Jones was able to clear the puck all the way down.
As you were saying?
Yeah. You cringe. Remember the Montreal shorthanded goal this year. That one credited to Lars Eller. Didn't really explain what happened if you just look at the score sheet. Here's Daniel Sedin. Burrows. Hand use. Garrison. Blocked by Smalling, and you got to have some guts to do that. Canucks have 45 seconds left in their power plays. Kessler moves in. Fighting the puck a bit. Daniel Sedin follows up. Checked by Fisher. Goes down. Able to get it back to Garrison. To Daniel Sedin. Pass across. Handhuse in front. And the puck got by both Kessler and Burrows. Daniel spins coming off the right wing boards, but the Predators, Bartley able to send it off the glass and down the ice. Under 20 seconds to go in the Legwand penalty. Handhuse been out there a while. A little tired as he'll head to the bench with Bieksa bringing the puck out. 8 seconds to go in the power play. Higgins, the goal scorer, moves in. And that pass right to Gostek, who comes back for Nashville. Penalties over. Canucks are 0 for 4 in the power play. Gostek leaves for Cullen. Legwand out of the box, goes to the front of the net, hoping for a pass. Now he'll peel off to the bench as Bieksa digs the puck free. And pokes it ahead to Dalpe. Quickly to Kassian. Canucks 3-on-2 if they hurry. Dalpe moves in. Centering pass. Kassian chopping the puck. Bieksa forced it just wide as he went hard to the crease. Higgins fires back. Edler with a wrist shot attempt, and that deflects to the near corner. Richardson hustling after the puck, stolen by Higgins. In front for Kassian, knocked down before he can make a play. And out with the puck is Shea Weber. He finds Stahlberg, who moves down the left wing board. Stahlberg, wrist shot, stick save Luongo. Cullen gets the puck and dumps it behind the net. Victor Stahlberg. Pressured by Edler, now checked by Richardson, who gets the puck behind the net. Quick turn to get away from Bork. Works the puck to Higgins, who's immediately checked. Smith tried to get one on goal. Here comes Del Zotto down for the left point. Luongo reaching up as Bieksa went down. And Roberto Luongo able to snare that puck. More routine play there than the one earlier when the Canucks were on the power play and Luongo had some trouble.
Looking for an unforgettable way to host business clients, reward staff, or hold a birthday party or special event? Vancouver Canucks single game suites available now in a range of sizes and prices to suit any occasion. Taking the game in the privacy and comfort of a Canucks luxury suite. To learn more or to reserve one, visit Canucks.com/single game suites.
The birthday party. Isn't the Will Shorthouse birthday party being held in a suite coming up soon?
It has been.
It has been.
And yes, you're right. There are multiple birthdays.
Yes.
We're a busy family in the first months of the year. Thank you for remembering. Matriarch Anne shares the same birthday as Gary Suitcase Smith.
Well, Will's into double digits now, isn't he?
Yeah. Rapidly closing in on you.
Yes.
Here's Jannik Hansen flipping one right onto the stick of Chris Higgins. Predators send that one back out. Dalpe with a neat play to poke the puck to Jannik Hansen. Wrist shot, easy save for Hutton in the classic John Garrett stand-up style. Here's Murph.
Guys, we can quickly tell you the Safeway's featured participating product for tonight's game is Purex Laundry Detergent.
Sharon Garrett loves to wash, gets that washing machine going.
Runs it on cold to save the
Yes,
environment, I'm sure.
Just to keep it going every other day.
David Booth had an eye for the puck off that drop. And here's Richardson from the corner. Kassian behind the net. Puck is loose. Booth trying to go after it. Pitchfork to the ice by Legwand. Here's Richardson. Kassian to the corner. Weber's on him. Kassian, despite losing his helmet, came out with the puck, but then lost it again. Craig Smith slides into center for Roman Josi. Kassian stays out without the helmet as the puck comes free to David Booth, and he dumps it out to center ice. Gets by Victor Bartley. Now unloads the puck back into the Vancouver zone. Booth still out there, ties up the man to free up the puck for Ryan Stanton. Ahead to Zach Kassian. He X's the trailer. He moves down the boards. Now Kassian still with the puck. Finds Brad Richardson. Kassian towards the net, hoping for a tip from Booth, who gets the puck in the right wing. Finds Kassian, trying to slide one through. Oh, nice move by Kassian. Now he shoots it just wide. See the confidence growing in the offensive game of Zach Kassian. He's now on the back check and tying up Cullen to free up the puck. And it's sent ahead to Tom Sestito. Sestito to Lane. He shoots, and that was blocked. Weiss gets the puck at center. Helping him out is Tannen. And now Weiss pokes it ahead for Kellen Lane, who's back into the Nashville zone. Another wrist shot, and reaching out for the glove is Carter Hutton. He'll take the whistle as the players mill about a little bit. Canucks up to 22 shots, and they have the game's only goal.
Well, there's David Booth. We know he's a hunter, and some not that happy with some of the Twitter pics he sent out. But here's something to make you smile. He just hosted Hunting for Humanity, a wild game community dinner for the less fortunate and homeless. They fed about 1,200 people. Foods were duck chili, moose hot dogs, venison stew, and some ducks that were provided by Booth himself.
Giving back.
Yes.
We wanted to show this because our esteemed producer, Greg Shannon, of course, is from Terrace.
Yes.
And we got to play that Hockeyville game. Remember that?
I do remember that.
The place went crazy when you emerged from the tarmac.
The Premier was with us that flight. The former Premier.
Mr. Campbell. Here's Chris Tannen. He was a long way from the NHL when that game was played against the Islanders in Terrace, but he's a mainstay on the Canuck defense now. Centering pass, knocked away by Hamhuis. Good defensive play there, and the puck is out to center Daniel Sedin, who flips it over the Nashville blue line. Daniel gets the puck on the right wing. Pass it to referee. Puck comes to Burrows, behind the net to Kessler, working on Weber. Kessler tried to turn and center, gets the puck again. Weber staying right on him as Kessler passes to Daniel Sedin. He's checked by Yossi. Burrows moves to take the puck away from the Nashville defenseman. Banked ahead to Smalling, and he'll turn and backhand it out. Four minutes to go in the second as Kessler passes to Hamhuis, and he's got some room at center. End of his shift, he'll shoot the puck in and head to the bench. Jones works his way out of the corner. Touch pass ahead to Legwand. Back in front, out of the reach of Stahlberg, who gets the puck behind the net. The X is on him. Legwand digs it free. Fans on his first pass, now gets it through. Jones quickly to Delzato. Wrist shot tipped. And Luongo, the left pad save off Stahlberg. Stahlberg from the corner. And the puck is outside the line. Delzato has to chase back for it. Canuck goal came on a deflection. Higgins able to get it up under the bar past Hutton. And Stahlberg had a good bid there on the redirect. That was foiled by Luongo. Now Stahlberg with a long shooting. And Luongo grabs that puck for the whistle.
Good play by Michael Delzato to shoot this one in for Victor Stahlberg. And Roberto Luongo makes his best save of the game. Tip in try, and as you say, the left pad over. About 18 inches off the ice, and Roberto follows it all the way and able to make the save. He read the play very well.
Wasn't cheating. Face off to his right. Kessler against Fisher. Passing, little hook. And play goes on. Delayed offside here as Garrison passes to Alex Edler. Kassian up the middle and now cuts to the left wing. Skating well as he works his way to the end boards. Angled off by Wilson. Richardson gets the puck back to Garrison. Here's Kassian. Turning, sliding one in front. Chance for Booth. And didn't get much on the shot. Hutton covering the bottom of the net, able to make the save. Hornquist dumps the puck in. And is able to poke it past Garrison to Fisher. Centering pass to Wilson, who got the loose puck eventually onto his stick and chopped it up over the net. Here's Yossi. Hartley on the left wing. Tried to wrist one in front. That winds up on the stick of Alex Edler. He's got two players ahead of him, and here they come. Kassian with Booth. Kassian in on goal. Hits him deep. now behind the net. Still with the puck. Zach Kassian, pass back for Tanev, but that was off the stick of Bourque and down into the Vancouver zone. Promising rush, but didn't result in an opportunity on goal. Now Weiss dumps the puck back in. Hutton couldn't reach it. Sustito deflects the puck. Being checked by Weber. Centers for Lane. That's knocked away. Held in by Hamhuis. Weiss couldn't reach the puck. Lane goes after him on the near side with 2 minutes to go in the second period. Josi tries the other side, but here's Sustito with a shot attempt, and that was blocked. Sustito gets the puck again. Good fourth line shift here for the Canucks. Lane knocks his man down. Weiss winds up with the puck and shovels it to Tom Sustito. Working off the right wing. Fires back, left point. That's off Hamhuis, who was able to sprawl and prevent the odd man rush. But now the puck is played down inside the Vancouver blue line. Both teams changing in the neutral zone. As Delzato tips the puck ahead. Shot forward by Bourque. Here's Smith moving in. Centers the puck. Gaustad sliding with Stamp to make the defensive play. First game back for Ryan Stanton. His timing looked pretty good there. Here's Spaulding as we move into the final minute of the second period. Gaustad, who just had that opportunity, knocked away from him. Tried to center, that hit the side of the goal. He gets the puck again, puts it in front. Spaulding couldn't quite reach the pass. Here's Josi from the blue line. Weber on the other side. Back to Roman Josi. Looking in front. Smith with a one-time attempt off the heel of his stick. Late pressure from the Predators with 40 seconds to go in the second period, trying to tie the game. Spaulding. Smith got that one-timer off and along made a stick save. Weber holds the puck in. Gaustad centers and it deflects through the crease and out the other side. 25 seconds to go in the period, and the Canucks under pressure here. Daniel Sedin's broken his stick, and now the puck winds up in the Vancouver bench. Whistle blows with 19 seconds to go in the period.
Ryan Stanton's back in the lineup after missing 15. Reads the play so well, comes back and dives. You can see Alex Burrows is late coming back on Gaustad, so that pass has to go through him even if the guy can make the pass. And instead, Stanton was able to pick off the puck.
Face off in the Vancouver zone and won by Richardson. Josi holds the puck in. Predators will try to set up a late chance. 10 seconds to go in the period. Hamhuis in a battle with Wilson. Pass comes back towards Mike Fisher. Down the boards again for Wilson in the corner. Now thrown in front, but that'll do it for the second period of play. Chris Higgins gets the only goal. Roberto Luongo has stopped 15 Predator shots, and it was a Higgins tip of a Dale Weiss shot that got in past Carter Hutton. So the Canucks with the lead heading to the third. Our second intermission will feature our latest NHL trade tracker, Michael Neuvert, and the panel reconvenes. Murphy, Auld, and McIntyre. 1-0 Canucks through 2.
Getting set for third period puck drop in Vancouver. Scoring summary, the second period is brought to you by Panago Pizza. Before, during, or after the game, get a fresh Panago. Chris Higgins, your only goal scorer, came from Weiss and Tanev. Canucks outshooting the Predators 23-15 after 2 periods.
John Garrett's Fresh Take being considered for a Gemini Award, and it's brought to you by Subway Restaurants. Enter for your chance to win the Subway Road Trip of a Lifetime at roadtripofalifetime.nucksnation.com.
As well it should. Ryan Stanton back in the lineup. Look at the poise. Nice little pass. It's easy to break out when it's tape to tape. Read the play. Take the man out defensively. Find the puck. Good pass. Easy to break out of your own zone. Tape to tape again, Zach Kassian. And read the play and make the diving defensive play. Ryan Stanton has had a great game in his first game back after missing 15.
Underway, third period. At least I thought we were going to be underway, but they'll do the face-off again with the Canucks leading 1-0. And will they put the clock back to 20 minutes? I think they will. Or they'll start it late. No. They'll just start it with 2 seconds elapsed. And away we go with Burrows dumping the puck into the Nashville zone. Carter Hutton has stopped 22 of 23, beaten by the Higgins goal. Canucks hold the puck in. Daniel Sedin centers out of the reach of Kessler, and out with the puck is Craig Smith. Gets to center on the right wing and plays one hard around to the far side, cut off by Garrison, who reverses for Daniel Sedin. Couldn't get by Weber, who twice blocked clearing attempts along the boards. Battle for the puck along the boards. Burrows able to tap the puck ahead to Ryan Kessler. They crisscross at center. Kessler in on the right side. Sharp angle wrist shot, blockered by Hutton all the way out to center, and Dan Hanhus takes control there. Puck back into the Nashville zone. Hutton leaves for Weber. Pressured by Hansen, gets the puck off the glass and out. Hornquist turns with it, dishes it ahead for Wilson to skate after. Colin Wilson, sharp angle shot. Luongo got his right shoulder on that one as he leaned against the near side post, and now Hanhus passes nicely up to Hansen. Into Dalpe. Hansen, long shot, stick saved by Hutton. Delzato taps the puck around. Hanhus moves down from the left point. Behind the net for Dalpe. Kicks the puck to the near side, goes after there. Nice pass to Hansen, in front for Higgins. Drops back to Tanner. Slap shot, gloved by Hutton. And he hangs on for the whistle. Higgins setting up that opportunity. He scored the game's only goal in the second, and it produced a winner on Score and Win for Safeway and Purex Laundry Detergent. From Surrey, Jody Trailing, you've won the Troy-built single-stage snow thrower with electric start.
It was a nice goal by Chris Higgins and Dale Weiss. Dale Weiss just shoots it at Chris Higgins. Angle the stick. Look at that angle by Chris Higgins. Make sure he got it up and over the goaltender.
Ryan Stanton holds the puck in the Nashville zone. Kassian making moves along the boards, feeds in behind the net. Hutton stumbled a bit as he came out, and he's able to play it around. And the puck is thrown forward by Bourque. Kassian covering for Bieksa, who was caught. Here's Delzato centering, and leg one missed the puck with Luongo sprawling, moving to his left. No shot on goal. Back come the Canucks, 2-on-1. Richardson with Booth. Richardson cutting in front. Drag move, and a shot attempt wound up underneath Michael Delzato. Chances at both ends that didn't produce a shot on goal. With 2:20 gone in the third. It's a long pass ahead for Nystrom, broken up by Edler. And Kellen Lane dumps the puck the other way. Dale Weiss in behind the net. Ellis tries to clear. Weiss blocked that. Now Garrison trying to hold the puck in. It's past him and onto the stick of Eric Nystrom. Nystrom plays chip and chase on Edler, who angles him away from the puck, but Nystrom able to come up with it. Working to the corner to Rich Clune. Clune in behind for Nystrom. Cullen's there as well. After the puck at the side of the net, Canucks send it ahead to Sestito, who skates through center. End of his shift, he rifles the puck in off the glass and heads to the bench. 3 minutes elapsed in the third. As Ellis dumps one forward, Hanhus taps that the other way. Coming onto the puck is Spalling, cutting to the middle. Couldn't get a shot away. And now the Vancouver net dislodged as Gaustad and Burrows were in a battle at the side. Murph.
John, shop and swipe your club card at Safeway today. Watch future Sportsnet telecasts, and you could win a week of unlimited luxury at Dreams Resorts and Spas, courtesy of redtag.ca.
Alex Burrows was pleading his case. He wanted the faceoff to come outside. He thought Paul Gaustad was the guy that took the post off.
And he won.
And he won. It originally pointed at the faceoff dot just to the right of Roberto Luongo.
Puck played into the Vancouver zone. Bieksa goes back. Under pressure from Gaustad. Spalling tries to center. Puck comes back to him. Now he throws one in front. Smith scores! Craig Smith, a one-timer off the setup from Nick Spalling, and the game's tied at 1.
Kevin Bieksa got spun around in the corner, and the puck's given away. And by the time he recovers, you can see Kevin's looking up to watch on the Jumbotron. Here's Kevin now. He gets spun around and he can't clear it. Paul Gaustad's a big guy. He handles Kevin. And now by the time Kevin gets back, it's too late. Up and over the shoulder of Roberto Luongo. No chance on this one-timer.
That's Craig Smith's 16th of the year at 3:28 of the third period. And back to square here with the Predators scoring on their second shot of the period. Here's Hansen as the Canucks aim for the good shift after a goal. Dalby to Hansen, slap shot, a rising one. Hutton able to snare the puck and get the whistle.
Canucks TV presents All In with Jason Garrison. Join Barry McDonald for an in-depth interview with the White Rock native and Canucks defenseman Jason Garrison this Sunday, 4 o'clock, Sportsnet Pacific.
Game like this, just a little mistake, hesitation by Kevin Bieksa instead of just firing it around. Gets turned around and ends up in your own net.
Predators just 9 road wins in their first 24 tries, but in good position in this one. Anybody's game as Stallberg moves in. Pass to Jones. Back to Victor Stallberg. Long shot wide of the goal. Booth hustles after the puck, takes the stick of Del Zotto. But the puck stays in the Vancouver zone. Jones with a long shot. That didn't get through as Bourque was trying to tip it. And Richardson on the backhand able to clear to center. Seth Jones skates back into his own zone and passes across to Michael Del Zotto. Del Zotto starts up ice, pass up the right wing. Cullen moves in on the right wing. That wrist shot blocked by Edler. Cullen gets the puck again. Centers. Intended for Nystrom, but the puck ricochets down into the Nashville zone. Visit Ramada.ca for the best rates and special offers. Predators 3-on-2, make it 4-on-2 moving in. Cullen with a pass off the mark for Nystrom. Ellis had joined that rush, and now a chance in front. Luongo had to be sharp to stop Nystrom on the doorstep. Luongo's lost his goal stick. It's laying loose behind the net as the battle for the puck continues. Bieksa comes out with it. And Kevin Bieksa just unloads the puck to center. John Tortorella not behind the bench, second straight game. He's talked about his team's struggles with trying to regain and reshift momentum within games. And that's what the Canucks need to do right now, as the Predators got the tying goal and have had a couple of opportunities since, including a 4-on-2 that didn't produce a shot. Here's Roman Josi. Cuts wide on Kessler and risks the puck in. Luongo does well to cut that one off. Can't clear past Smith in the corner. The Nashville goal scorer. Now the puck thrown back to Shea Weber. Weber with a long shot, hoping for a deflection from Spaulding. Now Burrows takes the body. Kessler takes the puck and finds Daniel Sedin. Sedin over the Nashville blue line. And the puck knocked away from him by Nick Spaulding. Weber plays it ahead to Smith, who returns the puck to the Nashville captain. Just past the 6-minute mark of the third. 1-1 tie. Higgins breaks up that rush. But now onto the puck is Mike Fisher with room on the right side. Wrist shot, blocker save Luongo. Jannik Hansen missed the puck, and Dalby couldn't move it out. Hanhus fell down in a collision with his teammate. He's lost his stick, but he takes the body. And that allows Dalby to headman the puck to Chris Higgins. On the left side, here's Hansen. Drop pass. Higgins trying to slide one through, then he fell down, and Jones starts back the other way. 4 Predators again. Jones in on the right wing. Tried to pass in front, and that was blocked by Alex Edler, who gets the puck around for Higgins. Higgins to Dalby. He's got room moving in. Dalby shoots. Stopped by Hutton. And the rebound taken away by Mike Fisher, who clears the puck up the boards and out. Both teams changing in the neutral zone as Edler skates to center. Bounces one in. Hutton had to be careful with that. He'll take the whistle. We'll take a break. Nashville's tied the game. We're 7 minutes into the third, and it's 1-1 at Rogers Arena.
The 2014 class of the BC Hockey Hall of Fame was announced today in Vancouver. It's one headlined by Kirk McLean, also 1975 first-round pick Pat Price, BC Hockey Development Coordinator Bill Enos. Former Canucks Knight Kirk McLean, of course, was here today to talk. Also was Shea Weber, as he was part of that 03-04 Kelowna Rockets club that won the Memorial Cup in Kelowna, John.
Not bad team. Duncan Keith, part of that. Blake Como, part of that team. Did you know Pat Price and I played in Quebec together? Brief time. Teammates.
Yeah.
Now you've learned something.
I'll have some of what they're having. Could that Kelowna Rockets team have possibly stood up to the Peterborough Petes of the 1960s? Puck into the Vancouver
Oh, the
bench.
Montreal Junior Canadiens is the one that won the Memorial Cup with John Garrett in net. Now that would have been a
but
matchup.
that was one of those stacked teams, wasn't it? Didn't they make a bunch of trades late?
No. They were good back-to-back champs.
John Garrett faced a lot of shots.
Not a whole lot. The one series we played the Quebec Ramparts, and Guy Lafleur was on that Quebec Ramparts team, and we had Gilbert Perreault on our Junior Canadian team.
Stacked. 1-1, Canucks and the Predators. Vancouver looking for a third straight win in the opener of a 4-game homestand, which won't resume until Monday when the Canucks play yet another back-to-back series on home ice. Ryan Ellis sends one across. Tanev knocked it right to Gostad. The puck stays in the Vancouver zone. Hughes hooks it around, held in by Ellis. Chance for Tanev to get to that loose puck, but he hesitated a bit. Thought Kassian was going to go to it, I believe. Kassian tied up along the boards. Now they'll try the other side. Booth and Ellis. Puck in front. Smalling couldn't get a shot away. David Booth has it, but we have a penalty coming up. A hooking call. And it's going to be against Vancouver, so the Predators who've tied the game are going to go to the power play.
Vancouver penalty number 15, 2 minutes hooking.
That was just good pressure by Ryan Ellis, pinching in on David Booth, who couldn't ship it by him. And there's the hook. Get the stick right in on Nick Smalling.
Well, it's UFC on Sportsnet. Saturday, 2 in the afternoon. Sportsnet 360, we should tell you. Henderson Thompson. The headline. Power play at 8:01 of the third. And Nashville an opportunity to take its first lead of the hockey game. Predators control. Here's Fisher. Back to Weber. Lots of room and a slap shot blocked by Kessler. Puck caroms off him out to center. Kessler stays out as the Predators regroup at their own blue line. Mike Fisher. Extra move. Hornquist was offside. Now Weber steps in onside. Flips the puck to the other side of the ice. And it's chopped right back out by Kevin Bieksa. David Legwand tried to take on two Canucks. That didn't work. Hughes and Burrows working in tandem to get that one all the way down. Power play, half over as Fisher wheels through center. Poke check, puck held in. Yossi, slap shot blocked. Tanev down in a heap as Higgins clears the puck, and Chris Tanev struggles to the bench, favoring his left leg or foot. Mike Bernstein over to greet him. As Tanev tries to shake it off, the Predators control deep in their own zone.
Chris Tanev's going to go right to the room.
So the Canucks down to 5 defensemen for the moment as the Predators move back in. 30 seconds to go in their power play. Smalling. Ellis, one-timer, Luongo the save. Edler trying to clear the rebound. Smalling came in looking for it. Edler gets to the puck and he drives it past Ellis and down the ice. A dozen seconds to go in the penalty to Brad Richardson. Ellis had to take that one off his skate. He drops back to Seth Jones and moves in. Jones backhands the puck behind the goal. Hughes there for Vancouver. Smith digs the puck free, makes an extra move, loses the puck to Richardson, who's out of the box, and here comes Hansen down the right wing. Wrist shot wide. And that one's going to come all the way over to Cullen, who takes control of his own blue line and fires nicely ahead to Craig Smith. Smith works his way to the side. There's going to be another penalty here, I think, to Burrows for hooking. Delayed call. Canucks trying to get the puck as Hutton goes to the bench for the extra skater. 6 attackers for Nashville. A delayed call against Vancouver. Here's Yossi at the left point. Passing to Shea Weber. And puck knocked away from him by Burrows. With 9:19 to go in the third, Alex Burrows heads to the penalty box. A hooking call. And the Predators are going right back to the power play.
The Canucks continue their homestand when they face the Coyotes this Sunday at 5 and the Oilers Monday at 7. Don't miss these two games as the Canucks look to gain ground in the Pacific Division. Limited tickets still available for both matchups. Visit Canucks.com/tickets to buy yours today.
Well, here's a good sight for the Canucks. That visit to the dressing room, maybe just more of a chance to walk it off in the tunnel for Chris Tanev, who's right back out on the penalty kill. Burrows off for hooking. And the Predators right back to the power play. Their third opportunity in the game, a 1-1 tie. There's Tanev right up the middle of Richardson and tips the puck out.
Another big face-off win for Brad Richardson. Now 6-4 on the night.
Here's Roman Josi carrying the puck over the Vancouver blue line. Takes a chop from Richardson. Passes for Fisher. Lets the puck go through to Weber. Other side. Now Fisher with some room on the right wing. Goal line feed. Leg one. Back to Weber. Josi at the left point. High slot. Fisher. Weber. Slap shot. Luongo the save through the screen in front. Puck still loose. They're jamming away. Hornquist is stopped by the left pad of Luongo. Tanev's down as Weber gets the puck. Luongo reaching for his goal stick. Predators send it in front. It flex back to Josi. Roman Josi, other side, tipped away by Hamhuis, but Legwand gets the puck. David Legwand, right wing hash marks. Looking across, finds his man in the relay for Hornquist. He missed it in the crease, and now the puck's off Hansen and out.
Boy, that's amazing that Josi didn't try and shoot that one. He tried to pass it across.
Predators move right back in. Fisher dumps the puck behind the goal. Hamhuis puts it on the backhand, finds Kevin Bieksa, who banks the puck to Ryan Kessler. And Vancouver able to relieve the pressure as Kessler moves in with Daniel Sedin. 40 seconds to go on the power play as Kessler dumps the puck around. Daniel holds it in and sends it back towards Ryan Kessler. He makes a move on Josi. Kessler killing time as he goes behind the net. And still controlling the puck, finally taken away by Craig Smith, who carries out for Nashville. 20 seconds to go in the Burrows penalty. Predators move in, Spaulding on the right side. Dumps one to the high slot. Smith to the other side. Now the puck played back to Seth Jones. Ryan Ellis takes his pass. Jones again, 10 seconds to go on the power play. Here's Cullen looking in front. Drops it back to Jones with room. Slap shot, score! Tipped in. Spaulding in front, I think. And a power play goal puts the Predators up 2-1.
Predators moved it around until they had a shooting lane, and Seth Jones is the guy in the high slot area, and Spaulding's the guy in front of the net. Back and forth till they get a shooting lane. You see the Canucks trying to line this one up, and Seth Jones slides over Mike Fisher with a nice pass, and the lane just doesn't get taken up. Tip in as Ryan Kessler thinks he's got the shooting lane, and it's Spaulding that tips it back against the grain. No chance for Roberto Luongo on that one.
So the Predators with 2 goals here in the third period to turn a 1-0 deficit into a 2-1 advantage. And the goal came with just 3 seconds left in the Burrows penalty. Something that has plagued the Canucks, not so much of late. But part of that is because they haven't had the lead in third period so much in the month of January. But they've frittered away some points, particularly on home ice, and in danger of doing it again here tonight with 7 minutes to go. Here's Gabriel Bork moving in. Wrist shot, Luongo handles that one. And he hangs on for the whistle as we take another look at the go-ahead goal.
Predators work the puck to the middle, and once that shot goes by Ryan Kessler, then it's fair game, and Spaulding with a nice tip in, about 10 inches off the ice, gets it to go back the other way. No chance for Roberto Luongo.
Predators 8 shots, make it 9 now here in the third period, to 6 for Vancouver. Nashville benefiting from having a couple of power plays.
Giving it to Seth Jones so far.
Well, they're going to have to change that, particularly from the last angle. And we have the advantage of wearing headphones with beautiful ice effects. And you can hear the deflection in front. But they're scoring at Jones from Cullen and Ellis at the moment as Fisher moves it. Sharp angle shot. Winds up on the stick of Yannick Hansen, who brings the puck out to center, slides into the Nashville zone, but this will be icing. And the face-off comes back into the Vancouver zone. Dan.
In this issue of Sportsnet magazine, we give you the 5 things that need to happen for Canada to repeat as Olympic hockey champions. Subscribe today, sportsnet.ca/magazine.
Shea Weber is one of the assistant captains on the Canadian team.
And on the ice right now, manning the right point, as the puck comes to the stick of Chris Higgins, and he plays it out to neutral ice. Weber takes control, hit it in the middle. Spalling tried to get it to Legwand, and that was broken up. Canucks need to play at the other end of the ice. 6 minutes to go in the third. Edler controlling behind his net. Throws a long one ahead for Daniel Sedin, who tips the puck forward. Kessler's after it. Daniel, and now Burrows. Predators break that up, and Smith gets the puck out. Yossi jumps onto it, carries it on the left wing with a weak shot attempt that winds up behind the goal. Garrison taps the puck and skates onto it himself. Pass ahead for Kessler out of his reach. Another icing call, and another face-off in the Vancouver zone.
Canucks have to get their feet going. There was a good example. Jason Garrison's rushing the puck, and Ryan Kessler's waiting for him to do something without his feet going. So Garrison feeds in the pass, but because Kessler's not moving at the time, goes by him and ends up being an icing call.
Predators control off the draw. Ellis dumps one in behind the Vancouver goal. Garrison winds up with the puck. Daniel Sedin in on the left wing. Checked by Nystrom. Burrows after the puck, works it free to Daniel. He throws one in front, picked off by Gabriel Bourque, who quickly headmans the puck to Eric Nystrom. Nystrom chips it in, skates on it himself. Turns, tries to center as he was checked by Bieksa. The puck comes right to Zach Delpy. Ahead to Zach Kassian. And he tips the puck forward and chases after it in the Nashville zone. Puck in skates, Delpy winds up with it. Pass back. Bieksa, wrist one wide of the goal. Puck winds up behind the net. Lease is after it. Leaves for Kassian. Wraparound attempt on the backhand. Puck still loose. There's a penalty coming up to Nashville as Delpy was taken down by Nystrom. And Eric Nystrom will head to the penalty box. Canucks with a power play and a chance to tie when we return.
Do you want to win an all-expenses-paid road trip with the Vancouver Canucks? Enter Subway's Road Trip of a Lifetime contest, and you can win a trip for 2 to see the Canucks in Washington, Tampa Bay, and Florida. Visit roadtripofalifetime.nucksnation.com to enter.
Now here's the Eric Nystrom on Zach Delpy. Takes him down, and they call it interference, and you can see Nystrom's complaining. He didn't reach around.
Looked like Delpy's already on his way.
It looked like he was on the way down.
But the Canucks get a power play. They're 0 for 4. 2 for their last 30.
And lose a face-off, but have to go back into their own zone to set up.
Hamhuis starts out. Pass to Kessler. In over the Nashville line. Chance to shoot. He does. A stick save by Hutton. And swatting that puck on the bounce was Gaustad down the ice.
That's a problem with the shot like that from Ryan Kessler. The other guys don't have time to get to the net for the rebound.
Bieksa to Burrows. Drops to Daniel Sedin. Other side, Hamhuis. Down for Kevin Bieksa. Saucers to Daniel. Up bounced over his stick and out to center with 1:12 to go on the power play. Bieksa had that one bounced the wrong way, but he finds Hamhuis as he recovers. And offside was Burrows as Hamhuis brought the puck over the Nashville blue line.
We can spark Alex Burrows a little bit. Of course, hasn't scored this season. 53 shots coming into this game. This his last regular season goal came April 15th last year against the Predators. Mojo?
Well, you can hope, Murph, but that just shows you the luck involved. And you see Spalling's goal tonight where 10 inches, you get your stick on it, goes in. And the Canucks are going to call a timeout and give their A power play group time to rest.
All right, we'll take our time to check out the game summary. It's brought to you by The Brick. Nobody beats The Brick for furniture, mattresses, appliances, and big screen TVs.
Chris Higgins got the Canucks off to the right start in the second period with a nice tip-in goal. Michael Del Zotto's been pretty good. Shea Weber's been the story again. He's played more than anybody else for Nashville. He's been out there every time Ryan Kessler's been out there. He's been real good, and I'm really impressed with Craig Smith. Shorty, you talked about the number of goals he's got already, and he just snapped that one over Roberto Luongo's shoulder.
.347 to go in the third period. The Canucks have just over a minute of power play time remaining. The face-off outside the line. And the puck comes to Burrows, who quickly tries to shoot it around. He does get it by Hutton, and Daniel Sedin's onto the puck behind the net for Burrows. Tried to help it along for Garrison. Gaustad intercepts, can't clear past Ryan Kessler. Kessler settles the puck, passes down to Garrison. Into the corner for Burrows. Try to go to the other side, that hitting the goal. But the Canucks keep possession of the puck. Burrows trying to sweep it back to Bieksa, but it went over the glass off a Nashville stick. So the face-off will stay in the Predators' zone, although they're still talking about it. I think Chris Rooney might have a different opinion. Linesman said face-off to the left of Hutton. And now they're going to bring it out.
Alex Burrows, I think it hits Daniel Sedin, and that's what the linesman thought too.
So that ruling hurts the Canucks with 43 seconds to go in the power play. Bieksa gets the puck and drives it in. Hutton aggressively played that one. Might have put a dent in the inboards, cutting off that ring around. Kessler winds up with the puck. Takes it back to Garrison. Right point, Bieksa. Here's Daniel Sedin. Puts one in front, tipped by Kessler. A nice left pad save by Carter Hutton. Daniel Sedin holds the puck in. Try to get it back to Garrison. Does on the second attempt. Garrison near side, Bieksa. 10 seconds to go in the power play. Bieksa looking in front. Passes to the goal line. Burrows from behind the net. Back to Garrison. Bieksa now to Garrison. Other side, Daniel Sedin. Penalty comes to an end. Daniel hoping for another tip. Puck went right through the slot. Here's Bieksa in front. Shot didn't get through. Predators clear, and now Hornquist chasing in on Garrison, who tries to tie up the Nashville forward and winds up freeing up the puck for Kevin Bieksa. So the Canucks are 0 for 5 on the power play, but here's Higgins cutting in goal. Higgins shoots, picked out, and the rebound taken by Jones. Chris Higgins looking for his second of the game, and that would have been a huge one with just over 2 minutes to go. Tanev deep in his own zone. Chris Tanev, perfect pass to Dan Hamhuis. He's in over the Nashville line with a drop pass to Kassian, puts it on the backhand. Now on the forehand, he missed the net, and the angle of that shot's going to see the puck carry him all the way down into Vancouver territory. Tanev pressured by Nystrom. Gets a return pass from Hamhuis and has to take the puck from behind the net. Minute 45 remaining. And an icing call upcoming, which will bring the face-off into the Vancouver zone.
And Chris Higgins is saying, okay, Shea Weber pinched on that one. Now here's Higgins in behind the defense. Takes the pass perfectly. But Carter Hutton realizes Higgins has one option, and that's a shot. Nice pass by Kevin Bieksa. Face-off got, so Hutton charges him. And it doesn't give Higgins anything to shoot at.
We talked about, I think it was the Eberle chance the other night for the Oilers.
Yes.
I think Barry Trotz like that.
Oh, I know. I know.
90 seconds to go. Luongo looking to the bench as Kessler gets to center. Passes to Kassian. There goes Luongo. Here's Higgins. He shoots and a blocker saved by Hutton. Empty net for the Canucks. Smalling gets the puck out. Daniel Sedin onto the ice. Works it to Bieksa, who shoots the puck in behind the Nashville goal. Hutton cuts it off for Weber. And he goes glassing out. Minute 10 remaining. Daniel Sedin flips the puck in. Now hustles in on Josic. Tried to shoot the puck around. That was blocked by Burrows. Predators get it ahead the second time. Tipped out. Here's Smalling giving chase on Bieksa. Tied up his stick. And the Predators don't get a shot at the empty net. There are now 45 seconds to go. As the Canucks, who had a 1-0 lead coming into this third period, try to get a goal to tie the game at 2. Hartley Tying up the puck behind the goal. It's sent to the near side. Edler hustles down from the blue line. Kassian gloves the puck. Edler next to touch or to hit a Predator in the back, I think. That's why play continues. Richardson fighting for it. Daniel Sedin gets the puck in front. Kassian was checked just as he went to shoot. Here's Edler. 15 seconds left. Back to Bieksa. Kevin Bieksa to Alex Edler. He shoots. Kicked out for the left pad of Hutton. 10 seconds to go. Edler again towards the front. Loose puck. Comes to Edler. Across. Daniel Fan with a one-timer. Burrows to Daniel Sedin. Couple seconds left. And they're going to run out of time as the Predators score twice in the third and get the win. Some frustration at the end.
Alex Burrows in the middle of it. It is frustrating for the Canucks. They just can't get that goal. They get that first goal and couldn't get the second one to put it away against a team that is also struggling to score.
Smith tied it. Jones credited with the winning goal, and the Canucks trying at the end, but
Block shot by Yossi, another block shot. The Canucks just couldn't get it through, and then Daniel fanned on the one-timer.
there's Nick Spaulding, who we thought scored the game-winning goal. It's been credited to Seth Jones. We'll see if they change it. It sure looked like Spaulding ticked it, and Carter Hutton wound up stopping 33 shots for the Nashville win.
And give the Predators credit. They just keep it close, keep it close, keep it close, and then force the issue in the third period.
So the Canucks' two-game winning streak, a modest one, comes to an end. They lose the opener of the four-game homestand. 2-1 Nashville, the final at Rogers Arena.
Canucks hockey on Sportsnet. Brought to you by Subway Restaurants. Enter for your chance to win the Subway Road Trip of a Lifetime at roadtripofalifetime.nucksnation.com.